Daf Yomi, Tractate Menachos, page 91a, top of the page with the words Hoyel Uchsiv Umin Hatzon Keman Dichtiv Yachdav Dami. Since in Leviticus 1:2 it is written, and of the flock, and not merely of the flock, it is as though the word together was written in the verse. Therefore, the verse in Numbers 15, which does state, or of the flock, is necessary to teach that this is not the case. Ule Rabbi Yehoshua d'Amar, Af al gav de lo ktiv yachdav, Keman dichtiv yachdav dami. The Gemara asks, and according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehoshua, who said that even though it is not explicitly written in the verse together, it is as though it is written together, meaning it is presumed that the halacha is fulfilled only when both details are realized. A verse should be required. Yet, in the Braita, Rabbi Yehoshua expounds the phrase of the herd or of the flock to teach a different halacha. From where then does he derive that one who takes a vow to bring a burnt offering does not need to bring both types of animals? The Gemara explains, isn't it written if his offering is a burnt offering of the herd? Leviticus 1:3. And then, in a separate verse, it states, and his offering is of the flock. Leviticus 1, verse 9. The fact that these possibilities are presented in two disjointed verses is an explicit indication that the burnt offering can be brought from even just one of these animals. Therefore, even Rabbi Yehoshua concedes that there is no reason to presume a burnt offering must be brought from both types here. V'idach itztrich sal kedai toch amino hanimili b'meforeish havi b'stoma le'esim mitravayu kamash melom. The Gemara asks, and asks for the other Tana, Rabbi Yonatan, why does he require a verse at all? The Gemara explains, it was necessary to have a verse to teach this, because otherwise it might enter your mind to say these statements, meaning the verses that indicate it is sufficient to bring just one type of animal, concern a case where one specifies in his vow that he intends to bring just one animal, and the verses indicate that it is valid to bring just one. But if one vowed without specification, one might say, let him bring burnt offerings from both of them. Therefore, the phrase of the herd or of the flock teaches us that even in that case, it is sufficient to bring one type of animal. Amamau. Toid minayin tamalaboy zevach atu toid olav zevachu. Yitztrich sal kedai zechamino. Hoid vikolechem vada. Loiti boyen esachi. The Gemara continues to analyze the Braita. The Master said in the Braita, from where is it derived that a peace offering requires libations? The verse states a sacrifice. Where is it derived that a thanks offering requires libations? The verse states, or a sacrifice. The superfluous word or includes thanks offerings. The Gemara asks, is that to say that a thanks offering is not referred to as a sacrifice? It certainly is. Why then is it only included through the word or? The Gemara answers, an independent inclusion was necessary, as it might enter your mind to say Since in any event there is bread brought together with the thanks offering, it should not require libations. The Gemara raises a question concerning this explanation. But in what way is a thanks offering different from a Nazarite's ram, as there is bread brought together with it also, and yet it requires libations? The verse states with regard to the ram of a Nazarite and one unblemished ram for a peace offering in a basket of unleavened bread, cakes of fine flour mixed with oil, and unleavened wafers spread with oil, and their meal offering and their libations, Numbers 6:13 through 15. So, the Gemara answers, it might enter your mind to say that one should differentiate between the thanks offering and the Nazarite's ram, as there, together with the Nazarite's ram, he brings only two types of bread, meaning loaves and wafers, whereas here, together with the thanks offering, one brings four types of bread. Therefore, one might have concluded that since there are many types of loaves, it does not require libations. For that reason, it is necessary to have an independent libation that teaches us that it does require libations. V'lichtov rachmana lipale nedel oy nidavo v'roy boy oylo. The Gemara analyzes another one of the derivations of the Braita. The verse states, and you will make a fire offering to the Lord, a burnt offering or a sacrifice, in fulfillment of a vow clearly uttered or as a gift. This teaches that an offering that comes in fulfillment of a vow or as a gift offering requires libations. The Gemara challenges. But if that is the halacha, then let the merciful one write only in fulfillment of a vow clearly uttered or as a gift, and it would be unnecessary to write a burnt offering, as a burnt offering is a type of offering that can be brought as a vow or gift offering. מה הפרט מפורש, דבר שאינו בו על חטא, אף כל שאין בו על חטא. The Gemara explains, had the merciful one not written a burnt offering, I would say that the verse should be expounded as follows, and you will make a fire offering to the Lord. It's a generalization, indicating that all offerings require libations, but then it states, in fulfillment of a vow clearly uttered or as a gift, which is a detail indicating that the requirement applies only to offerings brought in fulfillment of a vow or as a gift, but with to make a pleasing aroma to the Lord. It then generalized. If so, this is a generalization and a detail and a generalization, and according to the principles of exegesis, you may deduce that the verse is referring only to items similar to the detail, just as the detail is explicit in referring to an offering that does not come to atone for a sin, but comes to fulfill a vow or as a gift. So too, any offering that does not come to atone for a sin requires libations. Oitzichatos v'asham shehin bo'in al chet, ovi mechal u'maser pesach shehin bo'in al chet. Accordingly, I would exclude a sin offering and a guilt offering from the requirement to have libations as they come to atone for a sin, and I would include the firstborn offering, the animal tithe offering, and the paschal offering, as they do not come to atone for a sin. In order to preclude the possibility of expounding the verses in this way, the verse states burnt offering as an additional detail which serves to further exclude offerings that are brought only in fulfillment of an obligation. Hashtachetiv oila klalu prat ma merabis be ma haprat beferash shein mechuyav v'oimed avkol shein mechuyav v'oimed. The Gemara asks, now that it is written burnt offering, what do you include through the generalization and detail and generalization in this verse? The Gemara explains, just as the detail of a burnt offering is explicit in referring to an offering that one had not always been obligated to bring, as it is referring to a burnt offering brought in fulfillment of a vow, which one became obligated to bring only once the vow was taken. So too, any offering that one had not always been obligated to bring requires libations. Lahavi, Vladois Kadashim, Usimurasan Velahabal Minamusarois. This serves to include in the requirement for libations the offspring of consecrated animals. For example, of a female peace offering and substitutes of consecrated animals, meaning a non-sacred animal with regard to which one stated that it should be a substitute for a consecrated animal, in which case the result is that both animals are consecrated and must be sacrificed, and a burnt offering that comes from the proceeds of having sold surpluses of items donated to the temple that were not needed. Ve'asham shenitak le'ri'o v'chol hazevachim shenizbechu sheloi lishmon. And this also serves to include a guilt offering whose owner either diced or achieved atonement. Whose owner either died or achieved atonement through sacrificing another animal, and which was therefore consigned to grazing until it developed a blemish, at which point it should be sold and the proceeds used to purchase supplementary offerings for the altar. If instead the guilt offering itself was sacrificed as a burnt offering, it is valid. In such a case, the offering requires libations, and this also serves to include all offerings that were slaughtered not for their own sake. Such offerings were brought to fulfill the owner's obligation. Since they were not sacrificed for the sake of that purpose, the owner does not fulfill his obligation, but nevertheless, the offerings are valid. In such a case, these offerings also require libations. V'hashta d'amrit oy l'drasho l'pali neder oy l'nidovo l'omali Lechelkom itztrich sol kedai techamina adimaisi neder unidovo loy liboy lisochim kamash melon deaisi neder lechode libaye nisachim viaisi nidove lechode laisi nisachim. And the Gemara asks, and now that you have said that the word or in the phrase or a sacrifice is necessary for the derivation that teaches that the thanks offering requires libations, I can similarly ask, why do I need the word or in the phrase in fulfillment of a vow clearly uttered or as a gift to separate between them? The Gemara explains it was necessary to write or in that phrase, as it might enter your mind to say that until one brings both a vow offering and a guilt offering together, they do not require libations. The word or teaches us otherwise, that even if one brings a vow offering by itself, it requires libations, and if one brings a gift offering by itself, he must bring libations. Hanicha l'Rabbi Yehoshua El Rabbi Yonasan Lamali. So Gedai Tegamina. I see Ned Lachode. Liboy Nisachim. I see Nidava Lechode. Liboy Nisachim. I see Neder Unidava. Tizge Binisachim Nechad. Kamash Melon. The Gemara challenges. This works out well according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehoshua, as he holds that whenever the Torah does not explicitly separate between two details, stated with regard to halacha, it is presumed that the halacha is fulfilled only when both details are realized. But according to the opinion of Rabbi Yonatan, who holds that in general it's presumed that either detail is sufficient. Why do I need the word or? The Gemara explains, were it not for this word, it might enter your mind to say that although the halacha is that if one brings a vow offering by itself, it requires libations, and if one brings a gift offering by itself, it requires libations. Nevertheless, if one brings both a vow offering and a gift offering together, it would be sufficient to bring libations for just one of them. Therefore, the word or teaches us that libations are required for each offering. Oh, b'moadechem l'mali. So, the Gemara asks, why do I need the word or in the phrase or on your festivals? The Gemara answers it was necessary, as it might enter your mind to say that this matter, that even when two offerings are brought together, libations are required for each of them, applies only when they are distinct, both in the type of offering and in the nature of the obligation to bring them, such as where one brings a burnt offering in fulfillment of a vow and a peace offering as a gift offering, or vice versa. But it's a big daf. Dude, this is a monster daf, man. Wow. Where were we holding? Binidovi. Alright, let's just move forward, man. Put one foot in front of the other. The Gemara continues its analysis. Why do I need the word or in the verse? And when you prepare a young bull for a burnt offering or for sacrifice, Numbers 15, verse 9, the Gemara explains it was necessary, as it might enter your mind to say that this matter, that when two offerings are brought together, libations are required for each of them, applies only when the two offerings are distinct in the type of offering, such as where one brings a burnt offering and a peace offering, both in fulfillment of a vow, or alternatively a burnt offering and a peace offering, both as a gift offering. The Gemara says, why do I need but where one brings two burnt offerings, one in fulfillment of a vow and one as a gift offering, or alternatively two peace offerings, one in fulfillment of a vow and one as a gift offering, I would say that since in the former case both offerings are of a single type of offering, meaning a peace offering, and in the latter case both offerings are of a single type of offering, meaning a burnt offering, therefore it would be sufficient to bring libations for just one of them. Consequently, the word or teaches us that even if they are distinct only in the nature of the commitment to bring them, libations are required for each offering. Lamali. So kedai techamina hanimile hecha device shtei oiles chad bened chad benedava inami shtei shlamim chad bened chad benedava. The Gemara continues. Why do I need the word or in the verse in fulfillment of a vow clearly uttered, or for peace offerings? Numbers 15:8. The Gemara answers it was necessary, as it might enter your mind to say that this matter, that when two offerings are brought together, libations are required for each item, applies only where two offerings are distinct from each other, either in the nature of the commitment to bring them or in the type of offering, such as where one brings two burnt offerings, one in fulfillment of a vow and one gift as a gift offering, or alternatively two peace offerings, one in fulfillment of a vow and one as a gift offering. I think you're just doing the same thing over and over again, just doing different combinations of it. But where one brings two burnt offerings, both in the fulfillment of a vow, or two burnt offerings, both as a gift offering, or alternatively two peace offerings, both in fulfillment of a vow, or two peace offerings, both as a gift offering, I might have said, with regard to the first of these cases, that since both offerings are of a single type of offering, meaning a burnt offering, and of a single type of commitment, meaning a vow, and likewise with regard to the other cases, therefore it would be sufficient to bring libations for just one of them. Consequently, the word or teaches us that even if the offerings are not distinct from each other at all, libations are nevertheless required for each one. Rabbi Yehoshua, Hayman Bakar, O Menachot Lamali, the Bride teaches that according to Rabbi Yehoshua, the word or in the phrase of the herd or the flock teaches that one who takes a vow to bring a burnt offering fulfills his obligation even if he brings only one animal, either from the herd or from the flock. The Gemara answers, and as for Rabbi Yehoshua, why do I need the word or in this phrase, or of the herd or of the flock? Although the Bride explains that he expounds a phrase to teach that one does not bring libations with a burnt offering, it does not explain what he derives from the word or. So, in brackets says, okay, it's very mini. The Gemara explains the word or is necessary, as otherwise we might be reminded to say that this matter, that when two offerings are brought together, libations are required for each item. For each of them applies only where one brings two kinds of animals, meaning one from the flock and one from the herd, but where both animals are of a single kind, it would be sufficient for him to bring libations for just one of them. Therefore, the word or teaches us that even if the offerings are of the same kind of animal, libations are nevertheless required for each one. Later in the passage concerning libations, it states, so shall it be done for each young bull, or for each ram, or for each of the lambs, or of the goats, according to the number that you may prepare. So you shall do for each one according to their number. Numbers 15:11-12. The Gemara asks, why do I need this verse? The Gemara explains it is necessary, as it might remind to say that this matter, when two offerings are brought together, libations are required for each of them. It applies only where the offerings were consecrated one after the other, but if they were consecrated at the same time, it would be sufficient for him to bring libations for just one of them. Therefore, the verse teaches us that in all cases one must bring separate libations for each animal. The Mishnah teaches that in general, sin offerings and guilt offerings do not require libations, but the exception is that the sin offering of a leper and his guilt offering require libations. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? They are derived from a verse, as the sages taught in Brayta, concerning the following verse, which details the offerings of a leper is required to bring as part of his purification process. This week's parsha. And on the 8th day he shall take two unblemished male lambs, and one unblemished female lamb in its year, and I guess it's first year, and 3/10 of fine flour for a meal offering, mixed with oil, and one log of oil. Leviticus 14:10. The Bride explains it is with regard to meal offering that comes with an animal offering that the verse speaks, and so it is stating that each of the three offerings mentioned requires libations. Ata omer b'mincha bo im zevach o eino ela b'mincha bo b'fnei atzmo. Excuse me just one moment. Weiter. go back to the line there. Iyata omel. That's where it was before the break. Iyata omel b'mincha habayim hazevach oinu le'mincha bo b'nei atzmo keshu oimer ve'elo hakoyin es oilo v'es mincho habayim b'mincha boim hazevach hakasu midaber. The Bretta continues, do you say that it is with regard to a meal offering that comes with an animal offering that the verse speaks? Or perhaps it is only perhaps it is only with regard to a meal offering that comes by itself, when the verse states in the continuation of that passage, and the priest shall sacrifice the burnt offering and the meal offering, Leviticus 14:20, which demonstrates that the meal offering accompanies the burnt offering. You must say that in the earlier verse as well, it is with regard to a meal offering that comes with an animal offering what the verse speaks. V'adayin eini yodea im te'una nesachim v'im lav tamid lo imal v'yayin lenesach revis ahin ta'aseh al ha'oila oy lazevach lakebes ha'echad. Oila zu oilas mitzoire, zevach zu chatas mitzoire, oile zevach zu asham mitzoire. But still, I do not know whether this meal offering requires wine libations or whether it does not. Therefore, the verse states, "And wine for pouring a libation, a quarter hin you shall prepare with the burnt offering, or for the sacrifice, for the one lamb." Numbers 15:5. The verse is expounded as referring to each of the leper's offerings. The burnt offering, this is referring to the burnt offering of a leper. The sacrifice, this is referring to the sin offering of a leper. And as for the word or, the phrase or for the sacrifice, this is referring to the guilt offering of a leper. The Gemara suggests, and let the Tan derive both the sin offering and the guilt offering from the word sacrifice alone, without relating to the word or. Okay, we'll stop here.